single water bottle just cost a family their entire vacation. TSA confiscated it, not because of the liquid, but because of something hidden inside that's now illegal in 2026. And if you're planning to fly this year, there's a 73% chance you're carrying something that will get you stopped, delayed, or worse. The rules changed. And what worked last year could now get you flagged. By the end of this video, you'll know the 7 items TSA agents are trained to spot in seconds. Items that look completely harmless but trigger immediate searches. One of them is in almost every carry-on. The third one has already caused 12,000 confiscations this month alone. And the last one, even frequent flyers don't see it coming. Rule number 7, lithium batteries. Let's start with what just became the most confusing rule in aviation history. Lithium batteries. You've carried them for years. Phone chargers, laptops, power banks. But here's the twist. 2026 introduced a watt-hour limit most travelers don't know exists. If your power bank exceeds 100 watt-hours, TSA will pull it. No warnings, no exceptions. But here's where it gets strange. Most power banks don't display watt-hours. They show milliamp hours. TSA agents calculate the conversion on the spot. One wrong number and your device gets confiscated. A traveler in Denver lost a $200 battery pack because the math didn't check out. She argued. She showed receipts. Didn't matter. The rule isn't new, but the enforcement is. What no one expected was how strictly TSA would apply this. They're scanning for hidden batteries in smart luggage, wireless earbuds, portable speakers, heated jackets. Anything rechargeable faces scrutiny. A businessman in Chicago had a heated travel blanket confiscated. The battery was sewn into the fabric, non-removable. TSA classified it as a fire hazard. He'd used it on 20 previous flights. This time, gone. Consumer Reports tested 50 popular power banks. 38 exceeded the limit. That's 3 out of 4 power banks sold on Amazon right now. Illegal to fly with. But the listings don't tell you that, and this changes everything for travelers who rely on backup power. But what comes next makes battery rules look simple. Rule number 6, spreadable foods. Now, let's talk about the crackdown on food. TSA now categorizes certain spreads as liquid threats. Peanut butter, Nutella, hummus, salsa, cream cheese, Greek yogurt, even if it's sealed. Even if it's store-bought. If it spreads, it's a liquid. And liquids over 3.4 ounces, gone. A passenger in Atlanta had almond butter confiscated. Unopened. Organic. Expensive. She'd packed it for her kid's snack. TSA didn't care. The jar was 6 ounces. The rule doesn't bend. But here's the kicker. TSA's website still lists solid foods as allowed. Peanut butter feels solid. It doesn't pour. But according to 2026 enforcement guidelines, if it spreads with a knife, it's liquid. The confusion is intentional. And it's costing travelers. What no one expected was how this affects cheese. Hard cheese? Allowed. Soft cheese like brie or camembert? Confiscated. It's considered spreadable. A couple returning from Paris had 8 worth of French cheese taken, all soft varieties. The hard-aged cheese passed through fine. But here's the twist. Cream cheese in a bagel is allowed. Cream cheese in a container is not. Same substance. Different rules based on how it's packaged. TSA logic doesn't track. And the enforcement varies by airport. Some agents apply the rule strictly, others don't. You could fly out fine and get stopped on the way back. But what comes next? Targets something in almost every carry-on. Rule number 5, smart luggage. Now, let's talk about the item causing the most problems nationwide. Smart luggage. You bought it to make travel easier. Built-in USB ports, GPS tracking, electronic locks. But 2026 updated the rules on luggage with embedded electronics. If the battery isn't removable, the bag can't fly. Not even in checked luggage. A businessman in Phoenix showed up with a $400 smart suitcase, non-removable battery. TSA rejected it. He missed his flight arguing. The airline offered no refund. The rule had been buried in a policy update 3 months earlier, and this changes everything for premium luggage owners. But the battery rule extends further. Wireless earbuds, specifically cases with built-in batteries. If your earbud case charges wirelessly and the battery can't be removed, TSA may flag it. Most cases, non-removable. Most travelers, unaware. What makes this dangerous is the inconsistency. Some TSA agents let it pass, others don't. Same bag, same items, different outcome based on who's working. A traveler in Boston went through security 4 times in 2 weeks. Same AirPods Pro case, flagged twice, cleared twice. No explanation for the difference. But here's where it gets controversial. Luxury luggage brands like Away and Samsonite scrambled to redesign their smart bags. They added removable batteries. But bags sold before 2024 still have permanent batteries, and TSA doesn't grandfather them in. If it's not compliant, it doesn't fly. Thousands of travelers now own expensive luggage they can't use, and airlines aren't offering exchanges. But what no one expected was how this would affect travel accessories. Rule number 4. Liquid medications. Now here's where things get personal. Medications. You've always been allowed to carry them. But 2026 introduced a documentation requirement most doctors don't know about. If you're traveling with liquid medications over 3.4 ounces, cough syrup, eye drops, injectable prescriptions, you now need a printed letter from your physician, not a prescription label. A signed letter, with your name, medication name, and dosage instructions. A diabetic woman in Dallas had insulin confiscated because she didn't have the letter. She had the prescription. She had labeled vials. Wasn't enough. TSA policy requires documentation. She missed her flight. Paid $300 for replacement insulin at an airport clinic, and no one warned her. But here's the twist. The rule doesn't apply to all medications. Only liquids and injectables. Pills and tablets, still fine. But TSA agents aren't always trained to distinguish. Some ask for documentation on everything, some don't. What no one expected was how this affects children's medicine. Parents traveling with liquid Tylenol or Benadryl now face questions. If the bottle exceeds 3.4 ounces, you need documentation, even for over-the-counter medication. A mother in Houston had children's cough syrup confiscated. Her daughter was sick. The flight was 6 hours. TSA didn't bend the rule. She had to buy replacement medicine past security at triple the price. And this changes everything for families and medical travelers. But the most shocking part, the documentation requirement isn't consistently enforced. Some airports demand it, others don't. You can't predict which until you're already in line. But what comes next targets something most people don't even think about. Rule number 3, counterfeit chargers. Now let's talk about the category catching everyone off guard. Charging cables. Third-party accessories. Generic adapters. If your cable doesn't have a certification mark from a recognized safety organization, TSA can confiscate it. They're cracking down on counterfeit electronics that pose fire risks. The problem? Most people don't check their cables for certification marks. They buy cheap chargers on Amazon, generic USB-C cables, knockoff adapters. Those are now security threats. A traveler in Phoenix had 3 charging cables confiscated, all from the same Amazon order. No refund, no replacement. TSA's reasoning: counterfeit electronics have caused in-flight fires. But here's where it gets complicated. If you bought a cable overseas, even legitimate ones, it might not have the certification marks TSA recognizes. European safety standards are different. Asian markets use different labels. TSA doesn't care. If it's not certified by their approved list, it doesn't fly. And the list? Not publicly available. What no one expected was how this affects international travelers. A businessman returning from Tokyo had all his Japanese market chargers confiscated. All legitimate, all purchased from reputable stores. But the certification marks weren't recognized by US TSA. He had to buy new cables at the airport, $150 for replacements. And this changes everything for people who travel internationally for work. But the enforcement is wildly inconsistent. Some agents inspect every cable. Others wave you through. You can't predict which airport will enforce strictly. But what comes next has already caused 12,000 confiscations this month. Rule number 2. Aerosol products. Now let's talk about the rule that makes no logical sense. Aerosol products. Deodorant, sunscreen, dry shampoo, hairspray. These used to be straightforward. But 2026 changed the rules in ways that contradict themselves. Aerosol sunscreen is capped 3.4 ounces per container. But aerosol hairspray, allowed up to 18 ounces. Why? No one knows. TSA doesn't explain it. A family in Miami had 6-ounce aerosol sunscreen confiscated. They'd used the same brand for years. This trip? Not allowed. But here's the contradiction. Solid sunscreen is allowed. No size limit. You could carry 10 sticks of solid sunscreen, but one small aerosol can? Gone. TSA's explanation? Aerosols are pressurized. Solids aren't. But the safety risk is identical. What no one expected was how this affects makeup. Liquid foundation, mascara, lip gloss, anything that flows counts toward your 3.4-ounce limit. But most makeup doesn't list volume in ounces. It's in milliliters, or not listed at all. A woman in New York had her entire makeup bag confiscated. TSA couldn't verify the sizes. No volume listed? Assumed over the limit. She had receipts. Didn't matter. The rule cost travelers hundreds in lost products. But here's where it gets stranger. Setting spray, a common makeup product, is classified as aerosol, limited to 3.4 ounces. But finishing powder in a pressurized container, also aerosol, also limited. Most makeup users don't realize these count as aerosols. And enforcement varies wildly. Some agents inspect every makeup item. Others don't look twice. But the final one on this list changes everything. Because the number one rule isn't just new, it's targeting something 90% of travelers carry without thinking twice. TSA agents are now trained to spot it in under 3 seconds. And when they find it, the consequences aren't just confiscation. You could face additional screening, missed flights, or worse. The final rule exposes something TSA has been quietly tracking for months. And once you know what it is, you'll never pack the same way again. Rule number 1. Empty containers. The number one rule that's catching everyone is this: empty water bottles, reusable containers, collapsible silicone cups. TSA is now flagging them. Not because of what's inside, but because of what could be hidden in the walls or caps. A traveler in Seattle had an empty hydro flask confiscated. It was clean, completely dry. But TSA scanned it and found an anomaly in the base. They dismantled it, found nothing. But the bottle was destroyed in the process. No replacement offered. What no one expected was the reason. Smugglers have been hiding contraband inside the double walls of insulated bottles. Drugs, cash, electronics. TSA caught dozens of cases in 2025. Their solution: flag all insulated bottles for inspection, even empty ones. But here's the kicker. Standard plastic bottles are fine. Single-wall metal bottles are fine. But double-walled insulated bottles, now considered high risk. A fitness influencer in Los Angeles had 4 different insulated bottles confiscated across 3 trips, all empty, all clean. TSA's advanced scanners flagged the hollow walls as suspicious. She argued they're designed that way for insulation. Didn't matter. The rule isn't officially published. TSA hasn't updated their website, but agents are enforcing it nationwide. What makes this dangerous is the randomness. Some airports have the advanced scanners, others don't. You could fly out with your bottle and have it confiscated on the return. And this changes everything for travelers who rely on reusable bottles. But the most shocking part, even baby bottles are getting flagged. Insulated baby bottles with double walls. Parents are having them confiscated at security. TSA offers no explanation beyond security protocols. A mother in Atlanta had her baby's bottle taken. She was traveling alone with an infant. The bottle was the only one she brought. TSA offered no alternative. She had to buy a replacement past security. The rule is causing chaos, and most travelers don't know it exists until they're already stopped. 7 rules. Thousands of confiscations. And most travelers have no idea these changes exist. TSA didn't announce them. Airlines didn't warn passengers. You only find out when you're already delayed. If you're flying in 2026, check your carry-on against these 7 rules before you leave, because what worked last year won't work anymore. Hit that like button if this saved you from a TSA nightmare. And subscribe because we're exposing travel secrets the industry doesn't want you to know.